witnessed by hundreds of people. Names and exact locations have been changed for privacy. The story takes place on the outskirts of Columbus in the United States, within a small Muslim community. In that neighborhood, something unusual and deeply unsettling happened near a local cemetery. A family lived in the same area. What started as a minor issue over cutting a tree in their backyard quickly turned into a serious argument between a young man named Abdul Momin and his father, Hassan Rahman. Words were exchanged, emotions escalated, and the situation got out of control. Soon, his older brother Khalid Rahman and middle brother Yusuf Rahman stepped in, siding with their father. In the heat of the moment, they physically assaulted Momin. After the incident, Momin was badly injured. His condition slowly worsened over the next few days. On the third day, a Friday, his family finally took him to the hospital. But it was too late. He passed away shortly after arrival. Right after Friday prayers, as people were leaving the mosque, the news spread quickly through the community. A young man had died following a conflict with his own father and brothers. The entire community was shaken. Grief spread, followed by a heavy silence and rising tension. A funeral was arranged quickly, but just before the burial, police arrived to investigate the cause of death. Everything came to a sudden pause. Light rain began to fall as night approached. Due to the ongoing legal process, the funeral was delayed. One by one, people started heading back home, unsure of what would happen next. In the middle of all this, the hardest decision fell on Momin's wife, Aisha Momin. Thinking about her young daughter and their future, she chose not to pursue a legal battle, and instead agreed to settle the matter within the family. But that night left something behind that never really faded. A death, a fractured family, and countless unanswered questions. In that community, it still remains like a quiet scar that people remember but rarely speak about. Late that night, around 1 a.m., a small group of people gathered and performed Abdul Momin's funeral prayer. He was then buried. The cemetery was neat and quiet, surrounded on 3 sides by a boundary wall. A narrow road ran beside it, with residential houses all around. At night, soft-colored lights gave the place a calm look, but it carried an uneasy, almost unsettling atmosphere. As time passed, community elders tried their best to ensure justice for Momin's wife, but nothing really moved forward. In the end, Aisha Momin decided to take legal action on her own. 41 days after the burial, on Thursday, August 24, police made the decision to exhume the body. The location was the same cemetery on the outskirts of Columbus. As soon as the news spread, hundreds of people gathered within a short time. The area around the mosque, the narrow roads, even the front yards of nearby homes were packed with people. Men and women, young and old, all stood there waiting for a moment no one really wanted to witness. Media crews also arrived at the scene. A light rain began to fall during the exhumation. When the grave was finally opened and the body brought out, it had significantly decomposed after 41 days. Parts of the body had broken down, and a strong odor spread through the air. Many people turned away, unable to watch. A story that had already been buried once was now coming back to the surface, but this time with even heavier questions and a deeper silence. The body was wrapped in plastic, tied up and placed into a van. The next day, after noon, it was reburied in another location without any formal ceremony. Everything was done quickly. The grave was filled, and the police and morgue staff left soon after. What happened next, however, began exactly 2 days later. Because all the houses were built right around the cemetery, a strange kind of fear slowly spread through the neighborhood. One of our neighbors, an older man named Omar Farouk, often stayed out of town for work. At home, only his wife, Fatima Farouk, was living alone. She was pregnant at the time, expecting their first child.
Due to the growing fear in the area, she urgently asked her husband to come back home. He told her he would return the next night after finishing work. But even after that night passed, he never came back. His phone was switched off, unreachable. Anxious and scared, Fatima stayed alone in the house, waiting for him. The TV was on, but she could not focus on anything. It was around 12:30 a.m. Then, suddenly, she heard knocking at the front gate. After that, her name was called out. Clear. Twice. Thinking it might be her husband finally returning, she quickly got up and stepped outside toward the yard. But the moment she opened the door, a strong, unbearable smell hit her. It was like something rotten, something that had been dead for days. Still holding her breath, she slowly opened the gate. And that is when she saw something she was completely unprepared for. Standing right in front of her was Abdul Momin, the same body that had been buried for the second time just 2 days earlier. His body looked partially decomposed, distorted and wrong in every possible way. Yet he was standing upright, like a living person. Because she was so close, she could clearly see the long stitched line from the post-mortem, running from his forehead down across his chest. In that moment, Fatima froze completely. Her body stopped responding. She could not scream. She could not move. Then she felt it. A cold, half-rotten hand wrapped tightly around her wrist, and in a low, broken voice, he kept repeating the same words over and over again. Water. Give me water. Not once, not twice, 3 times. Right after that, she let out a loud scream, collapsed to the ground, and lost consciousness. Hearing her cry, a few neighbors rushed over. They found her lying face down near the gate. Everyone quickly carried her inside the house, splashed water on her face, and tried to bring her back to awareness. After a few moments, she finally regained consciousness. Just then, her husband returned home. Seeing his wife in that condition, he was completely shocked. Slowly, she began to tell him everything that had happened that night, in fragments, still trembling and shaken. Somehow, the night passed. But the next morning, things got worse. People heard crying coming from the house and gathered outside. That is when they learned she had been suffering from severe abdominal pain throughout the night. As the pain intensified in the morning, she was rushed to the hospital. After examining her, the doctors delivered devastating news. The unborn child had not survived. After this incident, fear in the entire area deepened even more. People stopped going outside at night. Even the smallest sound made everyone uneasy. A few days later, an e-rickshaw driver in the village finished his last ride of the night and started heading home. His battery was already running low. The entire area was swallowed in an unnatural darkness, wrapped in a strange, suffocating silence. Shaking with fear, he slowly got out of the vehicle and sat inside it instead, as if staying still was the only thing keeping him safe. At that exact moment, he heard it. From inside the cemetery, footsteps were rushing toward the gate. Fast, heavy steps. Thud, 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 getting louder with every second. Then, suddenly, that same rotten smell returned. Strong, overwhelming, almost impossible to breathe. In the middle of the darkness, he saw 2 red eyes, like burning fire, staring straight at him. Even in that pitch-black night, a shape started to form slowly. A silhouette. A body that looked decayed, yet still somehow standing. It moved closer to the e-rickshaw, step by step. Then it reached out its hand, as if trying to say something. The voice was broken, unclear, almost not human anymore. That was the moment he couldn't take it anymore. He screamed loudly and fainted right there.
What happened next, I heard that same night myself. People woke up from the noise. When they rushed outside, they saw a crowd gathering on the road. The man was lying there, pulled out from the e-rickshaw, and people were pouring water on his face to wake him up.